Hi, welcome to Pit Stop Vibes. This is a forum where we talk about intergenerational conversations. So I'm here with my very good friends and millennials. So I'm here with Alfine, Mercy, and Mercy. And so today we're just going to talk about relationships in the workspace, and that's with millennials and Generation X's. So the first question I'm going to ask you guys is respect. Do you feel like you felt enough of it in the workspace? How do you think communication goes between you and your superiors?
Okay, I'll say sometimes it's been a challenge in terms of having Generation X in the workspace. You'll find most of the times either they are somewhere, they're not working at the same room with you. So when you're going to approach them, you have first to go to maybe a corner room or look for them somewhere in the email. However, I try as much as possible to respect the Generation X, but when I always feel I'm not respected when they're not communicating back. Communication is a two-way thing, and if for example you have given me an assignment and you want me to deliver, I've sent you on your email because we are not in the same space, like you're not sitting in the same space, and then you respond after 15 hours or you respond tomorrow, I feel like you are taking me for granted and you're not taking me seriously. And then when we come in the morning, you start asking me, bashing me, asking me questions. Why have you not done this? Why have you not done this? And yet you really sent the questions, or you responded to the email very early. So I think they need to not procrastinate. Let me call it procrastination. Let them act on it, as they cannot prolong, because it also bores me when I want to communicate other things. Yeah.
I think, like, to add on that, for us as millennials, we actually value more the entire essence of, if we're doing an assignment, rather, if you're carrying out an assignment, give us like step-to-step validation, like, okay, so I've done step 1, what do you think about it? Is it okay? Is it not okay? Should I redo it? So that when I move to step 2, I'll know that my step 1 is okay, so I'm just working on step 2, as in, and so on and so forth. So that, like, as in, I don't get to a point where you're telling me to restart the entire thing and I asked you, like, what do you think about it? Like, from the very beginning, you would have corrected me at that point.
So personally, I think respect fails when you give me a certain task and you want it to be done in a certain way, and I don't know how to go about it. Then you don't want to explain to me how it goes about it. So respect fails when we have that misunderstanding of this assignment is supposed to be done on this note, not this note. Yeah.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is that the way the relationships are set up in terms of superior and inferior should be more lateral, more relational, so more feedback, so it's more personal, instead of him just giving you the work and expecting you to get it back and forgetting about it until it,
relational, but not to become my friend.
Yes,
I have friends outside the workspace. I don't want also my boss to be my friend, but I also want that friendship, work friendship, not at BFF, you want to know what I'm doing on Saturday or such things. No, just these are the hours you've given me. Let's relate during these hours, but don't come too much beyond my hours, starting to ask me at what's happening on Saturday, or are you dating? Those are so personal for other people, not my boss. So I'd like it to be, when you're talking about relationship, we're talking about for those hours I'm in at the workspace. So how are we relating?
Yeah, furthermore, for Generation X, you should be more of a mentor than a friend to me. As in, you're the one who is supposed to guide me, show me this is what is supposed to be done, but don't come ask me, hey, are we going out, are we doing this, should we party, should we do this? Yeah, so I will take you as a casual person, and that's how it happens now. When we have that conflict, I can abuse you the way I want, because I can see you're just a normal person. Yeah.
As we move into like industries that we're in, rather, we tend to find that you'll be in a certain field, but you're not being guided about it. Like, tell me that this is what you're doing wrong. I feel like you have a strength in this, you should actually try this out. But instead, they'll just look at us and you're like, you have so much potential that you're doing nothing about it. Like, so what am I supposed to do? And I don't know what you think is actually good.
You actually raised a good point, but the question then I would ask you guys is, whose responsibility is it to know what field we're good at? So do we have to wait for the Generation X's to tell us that this is what we're good at, or is it up to us to figure that out, however long it will take? You know what I mean? So as you're working, you're also trying to figure out what you're good at, who you are, and then look for, you know, experience or mentors in that area. Or
okay, what I'll say is there are those people who are just born knowing that this is really what I want to do, but there are those of us who we find by doing so many other things, we find our purpose, we find our passion. For example, like where I come, my field of study, media, so I did journalism, I did writing, I did social media, until I came and found this is my niche, this is where I'm doing well. So even when you're getting these jobs for the workspace, and that's why we are saying that we get to find our passion. Most of us get our passions when you get to the job market, because you've been given a platform where now you are trying, you've been given to do this, and then you realize, do I want to do this for the rest of my life? No, I don't feel this is what I want to do. And then you go to this other level. So it's just doing so many things, trying to figure out yourself, because not everyone can an instant say this is really what I want to do from school, and then the system for school doesn't give us that. Because if, like me, I did media, I did everything, PR, media, everything. So the system takes you to do everything, but you don't even specialize from even when you start first year to show that this is now the line I need to follow. It's part of the passion I have. Yeah.
Okay. So again, I usually say that about responsibility is all about self-awareness. As in, if we have these conversations and I like what we are doing, my boss, who is a Generation X, will be aware that, hey, this is a millennium. I should also borrow ideas from them. Like, I usually try to compare my previous boss and the current boss. The current boss is so understanding. He's like, if he wants to do something, he's like, how can we do it? So you see, him as a Generation X, he's like, you're also able to tell me and guide me that this is what we are supposed to do. So those self-awareness conversations, they're the ones which will make us be aware of what we expect in the workspace.
That's good. So as millennials, you all know we've been accused most times of being lazy and, you know, self-entitled. So what I'd want to ask you guys to discuss is how in the workspace do we find a way to communicate to our Generation X bosses or our baby boomer bosses that we're not lazy or we're not self-entitled, that instead we have found other ways to, you know, to be just as productive. So what do you think we should do practically to get that point across?
So I like to plead with them to listen to us. That's the first step. Because one thing I've come to realize, because I've worked in several areas, most of Generation Xers are procrastinators. We can sit down, come up with a great idea, but they'll take years before it's actualized. And I've in my spaces, I've tried to push even for it and tell, let's try and do this. Because they're looking at this perfect thing, but us, we are looking at, let's start so that we can show, we can say we've started. So I think the first step is let them know we have something to tell them and we can help out in some ways. And yes, they have been there before us, but we have some small experiences, just small little experiences that we can also put, just help them achieve what they want to achieve. So they just don't look us like we are just the babies that we just grew up the other day. We also have some small inputs we have to put for their work to continue and the businesses to grow. Yeah.
And I think there should also be like a change in mindsets in the entire like how Gen X think, because you know, for them they were accustomed to, they thought that, I don't know, like it was hard for someone else to stand up to them and tell them that I feel like this is how things should go. I feel like whatever you told me doesn't work, but maybe we should try this out. So for them, they're like, you just 20, you just graduated from school, I've been in the field for the longest time. Why do you think this can be possible? Like, they should actually narrow it down to understanding why we think this can work. Why do we think that we can try out something new instead of the same method every single time? Because for us, monotony is boring. We can't do the same thing every single time the same way. We need a new challenge. We need something interesting, even if not every single time, but at least once in a while.
So if you take this conversation in the side that millennials and Generation X, we are connected in a way, and there are some things we do that we borrow from Generation X, and some things that Generation X do, they borrow from us millennials. I usually take a Generation X, for example, as a person like my sister, my brother, somebody who we grew up with that, but when I was in class 4, they were in campus, or Form 4, Form 3, you know. And if we just have that good relationship with each other, we are able to get that open mind, talk to each other, have that open mind. I think with that we are going to solve this issue.
I see, but what I want to ask you guys is these questions that we have, and the way we always talk about how we need to have communication. Like you mentioned family, so let me say, for example, in your family, do you guys have this communication? Like, you know, because we're talking about it in the workspace, yes? We want our Generation X bosses to understand what the millennial workers have, all our ideas, respect them and push. But if we're not having these conversations personally at home, how do you think they'll translate into the office? And can you discuss what you think about the fact that these conversations aren't just happening only in the workplace, but also at home, that there's a lack of this communication both ways?
So I think it depends. As I said, right now most of Generation X has maybe our bigger sisters because our parents are baby boomers. One thing is, it depends on how you guys were raised up, because it's individual and it's personal. It's very personal to different people. So how people are raised up. So if you are raised up, the two of you are brought as family. You bigger and smaller sister, your bigger sister is taking care of you and all this. You have a communication. When I have a problem as a girl, I can tell my bigger sister. I cannot be able to tell my mother. So it depends with how people are raised up, and that's so personal, and it's different from different people. But now, when we now go to the workspace, you find we are all of us. People brought up by different parents. There are those who didn't have even bigger siblings. They're their own. They're millennials and they're their own, so they don't know how to communicate. Yeah, so that's what I'll say.
So I also think that, you see, it all starts in the name of love. As in, if you as a family members, you're able to talk to each other, you're able to have this conversation about anything. You can discuss about the issues in the workspace. But if your family, you are like, if your dad enters, you go in the bedroom, you can't have these conversations. And to back that up, I remember there is a time my boss came in the office and he was very mad. He didn't want to talk to anyone. So one of my colleagues commented and said, ati huyu atatuletea stress za bibi yake zenye ametoa nyumbani, you know. And this comes in because this person, maybe they had disagreements at home, then those disagreements he brings in the workspace, then the fight starts there. You're like, oh, I can't do this, let me leave the organization. Yeah, that's it.
To add something on what he's talking about, let's not have feelings in there. I don't know, we all built by feelings, but most of Generation Xers bring their problems at the workspace, so they come and bug us with what is happening at home. They come and stress us off, and that's why the issue of things to do with suicide that you are seeing people committing in the office. Just somebody is coming, you've done work so well. You know, there's a meme I saw where they say, this is how you write the sentence, but now the boss comes and corrects you the same way. there's nothing he changes, but he just has to correct something. You know, those people want to be felt their bosses. So I don't think they need to show us that, because let me tell you, I think from where I sit, we don't really, I don't want a space at the corner I want to sit and people feel I'm the boss. I'd rather even work somewhere, but I'm getting my cash in my account. I'm getting even more than the person who seated there, but I don't mind having those titles and that being given an exclusive place for me to be able to be identified as this big boss. I can work with the people, even I can sit next to a person, but so long as my account are reflecting what I'm doing, I'm good to go. Yeah.
Okay, now just to just maybe give you one more question. It's actually about, now let's make it personal. So we live in Nairobi, we live in a city it's hectic, especially for people our age. Now, the question I want to ask you guys is, a lot of us have to end up doing things that maybe we don't want to do as we wait to do the things that we feel like we're passionate about. So for example, you'll graduate with a statistics degree like Mercy, get a statistics job, but she wants to be a social media person eventually. So it means that there are a lot of millennials out there in this city who right now have to be in a space where they're not necessarily enjoying themselves or want to be in order to give themselves the resources that they need to end up doing eventually what they want to do. So I want you guys to discuss what you think about that, and if you think that's a thing you should be doing. Should you be putting your dreams on hold as you get the practical stuff out of the way, a house, a steady job, a car maybe, as then maybe when you get all those resources, you then can go do what you want to do, really?
Same thing. A baby boomer and a Generation X wanted me to do statistics. I did statistics, but that is not what I had passion of. I wanted to do something else like accounting, name it. Then I do this course, then I'm through with it, then I'm not interested. I go in the workspace, look for hustles, I don't get the job. So, and you hear a baby boomer or a Generation X saying, bring that degree, it's mine, do whatever you want to do. It happens. Yeah. And when you go back to school, or when you do another degree and you do what you're passionate about, when you go to the workspace, you might or you might not get the job you want. So for me, I think we should have this conversation. People need to be free with whatever they want to do. If you don't want to tarmac, if you don't want to get all this stress in the workspace, that maybe you did economics, you're given a statistics job, Yeah, so that's it.
I think I need to, on your question, I think it's, we don't have my parent they took me to the university, so they don't have money to give me, to tell me start your business. Like they expect me to get a job and get paid and maybe probably even help them, So why we are working, where we are not working for our passion, we are working maybe for this other job, is because I need to gather capital. Like this other job needs money. Like I need to know for the next what I'm going to eat, transport, when I need to move around, how am I going to pay my rent. So I need this other job before now I go to my because it cannot bring the work, bring money immediately. So for the next maybe 4 months won't be having any income from that passion. Yeah. But I need something that is generating money, can sustain me. Yeah.
Should you put your dreams on hold to just for the sake of getting money to maybe finance it? Honestly, I think that's subjective. It depends on an individual. And in my opinion, I don't think you should actually do that if you're able to finance it, because the minute you actually put it on hold, you can easily get distracted and end up doing a lot of things that you weren't supposed to do. And by the time you realize it, you're 40 and you're like, wow, I wanted to do this when I was 22, but it's 18 years later, I haven't done it. And about doing something you're not passionate about, we're living at a time where you don't get to try out a lot of things. Like when you're growing up, the 844 system is all about go to school, those 5 subjects, maths, English, Swahili, science, social studies, theory. You don't get to know if you're good in art. You don't get to know if you can do something else differently. So by the time you actually realize it, you're in your 4th year of school and you've realized that, oh my God, I can do graphics. Oh my God, I can be an architecture, but you may be doing medicine or something. So you see it's going to be like an entire shift of either you drop out or finish that 5-year degree, then go do whatever you wanted, or I don't know, persevere in a field that you're not interested in. So I think that's why you actually get most of us doing very different things. Like, let's say she did communication, but you'll find her doing, I don't know, designing or something like that. Like you'll find someone doing a degree in law, but they'll end up doing music, like pursuing music and earning from it. So it narrows down to, as in, I think it narrows down to education system at the end of the day. Like, because you'll find that we're learning things that if you go to the job market, you're not practicing it.
Yeah.
Like, what's the point of me doing economics in school and I'll go to the job market and do marketing?
Like for I did finance in school. Right now I'm doing sales. So I have to fit in sales. Yeah, you understand.
Well, this conversation needs to continue, but we've unfortunately run out of time. But this is Pit Stop Vibes again. This is the millennial conversation, and these are just things that we need to be talking about all the time. And I'm glad that we have a place where we can talk and understand each other and maybe learn more about intergenerational relations and just how we can do more. So thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.